Love, Life, and Live podcast, hosted by myself, Daryl K. Millsap. This podcast is intended for people who are currently on kidney dialysis or who have had kidney dialysis. It's an informational podcast. The purpose of this podcast is not only to inform people, but also their family members. This is dedicated to all the people who are currently on dialysis and who have been on dialysis. We'll talk about topics such as emotional topics, finances, pre-transplant, post-transplant. We'll talk about disabilities, as far as how do you get disability, and we'll have a wide range of topics to talk about doing this podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to inform people in a layman's term of what's going on. A lot of times patients have a lot of questions to ask, but the various doctors, nephrologists, nurses, dialysis techs, they don't really have time to explain because they're busy doing other things to help you. So I hope this podcast is very informational for you and that you have any questions that might concern you. You can call in and ask, and we'll try to get answers for you. In our future episodes, we'll have a lot of professional people on the podcast. We'll have doctors, nurses, dialysis tech. We'll have people who are currently on dialysis and people who have had transplants. They'll use their experience and their story, tell you their story, which would probably be a lot like your story. I want this podcast to uplift people, to let them know that even though you're on kidney dialysis, you can still live an active life. It's not the end, it's just the beginning. I speak from experiences. I myself am a kidney transplant. So when I say this, you can live a fruitful life, but you have to have family with you, and you have to have a very strong mind. So I'll tell my story in the end, but right now we have a special guest on the podcast, our very first podcast. A gentleman named Harold Wilson is a friend of mine and also a fraternity brother of mine. He will tell his story as how he became on dialysis and his experiences. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to Harold Wilson.
Well, thank you very much, Daryl. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
I like to get started with that saying that as being at first encountering this problem, that's really the initial effect of it. It's like you're ill. I mean, all of a sudden you're feeling fine. You go to the doctor one month, and you all of a sudden you feel like you're sick, and you don't know why you're sick. I went to the doctor. This occurred to me in June of 2009. I was feeling fine. I went to the doctor. I was healthy. All my numbers were good. The only problem that I had, and that was occurring for a while, is I had high blood pressure. And I'll be honest, for African-American men, high blood pressure is a major issue. And depending on your job, it could be stress. So those two key things could be a cause to kidney failure. But from the beginning, I had no idea of this. So I was fine in June of 2009, and around the holidays in September, Labor Day, matter of fact, and I was at a party, and my stomach started, giving me problems. So I thought it was some bad food I ate. Having said that, I went home and thought I was going to take some medicine, and it kept bothering me. So eventually I went to the doctor, and then that's when the doctor told me that, hey, we need to get some additional blood work done, and I need you to take this big jug home and urinate in it for about 24 hours. And what occurred was I took that back, and come to find out that my kidneys were failing. So the doctor, and Daryl, you might, have some questions you might want to ask me, during this time, because, I felt that at that time I was having, I thought I was okay, but come to find out the doctor was telling me that, hey, we need to have you take some tests and possibly a biopsy of my kidneys, because we think that there's a problem here. So that's a very scary thing. So, I mean, it's on and on. I went for a year, and I'm going to be a little short on this part because I can give you, it's a very detailed, but, it's a very disheartening thing to find out you may be seriously ill and you've never been sick before. So after I got the blood work done, after the doctor gave me the analysis, they offered me a suggestion of, hey, maybe we can help you. We can give you these medications and see if that will resolve the issue. I tried taking these medications for about a year, from 2009 to 2010, but my body couldn't handle it. To be honest, my body couldn't handle it. So the following August of 2010, I had emergency surgery. Emergency surgery where I had to have a port put in so I could go on dialysis immediately. So that's a very disheartening thing. So you want to explain
that port. A lot of our audience probably don't quite understand some terminology we're using. We, of course, understand that. But a port is something that they use temporarily to start kidney dialysis. So it's implanted in your chest, and it's no wonderful needles involved. A lot of times when you're just currently diagnosed with a port, it's an emergency situation. You need to go on dialysis immediately.
Correct.
Otherwise, they give you time to have a surgery through a vascular surgeon to create a port to have dialysis. So carry on.
Yeah, so having that emergency surgery done, this port put in your chest, again, if you've never had surgery, never been really sick, all of these are scary times. Even, I don't care how old you are. So I was very nervous about this. I was very, and my family was too. My wife and my children, they all was very concerned because now Dad was sick. This is not like Dad to be sick. So after going in and have the surgery done, emergency port put in so that they could be able to put you on dialysis. And maybe Daryl, just explain a little bit about what dialysis is, dialyzing yourself.
Dialysis is cleaning your blood. So there's a lot of toxins in your blood. Your kidney functions as a filter. So when your kidney functions are low, at a certain point, they test something called creatinine, which determines whether you start dialysis or not. So with that being said, dialysis cleans your blood, and as a jokingly way, you can lose weight on dialysis like you wouldn't believe. So for all our audiences out there that want to lose weight, go sit in that dialysis chair for a little while and you'll lose quite a bit. But we don't want you to do that. The purpose of this is to inform people, but to also avoid that seat if possible. Right. That's one seat you really don't want to sit in if you can help it. So,
yeah, this is like I said, as Daryl was saying, it's a very scary thing, and like I said, like I was explaining to Daryl, you sit on the side of the bed when this first occurs and say, "Why me?" It's always why me. What did I do to cause yourself to get in this situation? You don't know. Life happens, and again, one of the major things that I would say that for Black men is watch your blood pressure and watch your stress level. Those are the two major things that could cause kidney issues. I won't say kidney failure, I'll say kidney issues. So from that, I went on to have dialysis. So with this emergency surgery, these ports put in, so now that it can clean my blood through these tubes, and you sit in this chair. If you've never seen a dialysis center, and most people don't because they just walk right past them, not knowing what they are. Right. And when you finally find out that that's the place that you have to go, and then you're seeing the people that's there, you kind of like realize the fact, now it hits you. I got to do this. But the good thing about this is that there's always, you have to be positive, like Daryl's saying. You have to keep yourself positive, because it's not just for you. It's for you, your children, your wife, whoever, your significant other, whoever, your parents. Nobody wants to be there, but sometimes we have to. So remember that the thing is to keep your spirits, because there's always a chance that you're going to get a kidney. That's the whole purpose. You're there. Hey, your kidneys fell. So what? What can we do about them?
Well, to talk about what you've talked about, the importance of this podcast is to inform people. But all across America, if you just take a look, these kidney dialysis places are popping up like Popeye's Chicken and McDonald's. There is an issue in our community with kidney problems. If you don't know someone or know someone, you will shortly. There's a big push for home dialysis. We'll be talking about that in a future podcast. What is the advantages of it? What is not? A lot of people on dialysis try to keep it secretive. They want to do it at home, but let me assure you this: if your home is not hospital sterile, you might want to consider home dialysis. The last thing you want to do is get a catheter infected. So this is very important. We need to have a voice, and you need to look at people who are like you talking about this. People think that when you're on kidney dialysis, you look a certain way, or then your body does make some changes. You'll tend to get a little darker because of the dialysis. You will probably lose some weight because, like I said, that chair is a fabulous chair in a lot of ways, but you will lose some weight because it takes water out of your body. So there's just a lot of information. People have questions. They want to know, how do I feel? What do I expect? Kidney dialysis affects every aspect of your life, from your personal life to your finances to what am I going to do? How do I feel? To the medications you have to take while you're on dialysis, and the medications you have to take when you get a transplant. So we're here today, or at least I am here today and every other week, to encourage people. You can still live and have a great life, but you have to have some certain things in order, such as you got to have a strong mind, and you have to be willing to do what the doctors ask you to do, because if you don't, there's consequences for that. So
yeah, I think and those consequences are definitely major.
Right.
What I find out, like Daryl explained, when you know about a dialysis office or a dialysis center, and you're there, they're going to give you a couple of things. They're going to give you a social worker. You'll have a social worker. You'll have a nutritionist, and you have your nephrologist is going to visit occasionally to see your progress. And when you're thinking about progress, the whole point of the dialysis center is to keep you alive, to keep your blood clean. But in addition to that, what you want to do is that you want to get on that transplant list as soon as possible. A lot of people, depending on when you're diagnosed with kidney failure, as soon as you have to go to a dialysis center, make sure the first thing you want to do is make sure your social worker knows that you want to be on that transplant list. Because
you want to explain what a transplant list is, and briefly how that goes about the two types of kidneys that you can get, as far as a living donor or a cadaver.
A transplant list is there are hospitals all over the country that have people who are in line, who have kidney failure, who are in line, like any line you're familiar with, waiting for a kidney. And there's so many things that has to, line up in order for you to be a perfect candidate for that kidney.
Correct.
So there are two types. You can be a live donor kidney. That means you know someone that's willing to donate your kidney, and that everything matches, all your blood work matches. Then there's a cadaver donor. That means somebody who's recently deceased and has indicated that they want to be a donor, and then they find out that it's a match with yours. That's the thing. Fortunately, my son was a donor, but he wasn't healthy enough at the time to donate to me. So I could not use my son. But shortly after that, there was a cadaver donor came available. And I'm talking about, I was on dialysis about 2.5 years. And that's unheard of, really. You usually don't find, unless it's a live donor, you don't find a cadaver donor within 2.5 years. I was blessed to have one. I went on dialysis in 2010. I got my kidney transplant in February of 2013. And that was like a life-changing experience. So I'm here today talking about those life-changing experiences, how my life has improved since then, and how some of the changes that I've made in my lifestyle after that. In addition to that, I just want to let everyone know that once you have a kidney transplant, you will be on a certain line of medication for the rest of your life. So don't think you're going to get an organ and there's nothing you have to do. You're going to be taking medication for the rest of your life. Daryl?
That is correct. So in a nutshell, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about as far as your experiences with beforehand, or how do you feel after you've had a kidney?
Well, like I say, now since 13, now it's 2020, it's 7 years.
Right.
7 years, and I'm doing fine. I feel good, looking good.
Exactly.
So,
do you notice more energy? Do you notice?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely a life-changing event for that.
I think the biggest thing is you're getting stuck 3 times.
Yeah. There's so many horror stories I could tell you audiences about kidney dialysis that would probably take 2 or 3 hours to say. But it is very important that you have a general understanding of what people go through with that. It's beneficial if you've got a strong family, which I'm blessed with.
Yes.
I can tell you my story. I'm probably one of the only people in the Chicagoland area that has 4 kidneys in them. I can say that most people don't. I think I'm looking good and great. I know after I got my first kidney, people couldn't believe how I looked and the weight I lost and everything. And I said, well, what did I look like beforehand? Did I, was I look like I'm Walking Dead? And people would say, no, you look fabulous, and you would never know that I ever had a kidney transplant. So that's good. And I want to credit my family, first of all, and the doctors who gave me the information I needed. You got to change your eating habits. You have to keep that stress off you as much as possible. And you have to be positive, and you have to be around positive people. That is so important with any illness. You want to, and I'm sorry for saying this is my first podcast, but you want to be positive in that situation. I know a lot of you guys probably have a lot of questions. When I was on dialysis, people would come to me and ask me questions, personal questions. What about this? What about that? And I would love getting them information, simply because they don't know. A lot of us don't know. We don't ask any questions, but you need to know, because it's definitely going to affect you. You need to know what kind of food you need to eat. And a lot of times people on kidney dialysis, they have other issues as well. So fortunately, we've got scheduled a nutritionist coming on the show to talk about some foods you need to eat when you're on dialysis and when you're off. We've got a fitness person will come in here, and he will give you some exercise you can do. That is very, very important, to do some type of exercise, even if it's just walking to keep things going at your second chance in life. We also will have a social worker come in. He can talk about the mental thing you go through. And just think about this. Someone gives you this news, what are you going to think? If you don't have a strong mental mind, it'll be a very tough road for you. We'll also have some dialysis techs and some dialysis nurses talk on the show. And we'll have people who are currently on dialysis. Let them tell their story. How did they become on dialysis? People have misbeliefs about things as far as how you got there. It's everybody and anybody. I've seen people from 21 years old to 80-some years old on dialysis. So this is an epidemic in minority communities that needs to be addressed. So hopefully we can do a podcast about people not having to go on dialysis, changing their eating habits or their lifestyle so they can avoid it. And that's where we're going to go with the show. My personal story, I was in my 30s. Actually, to tell you the truth, a very long time ago, I was interviewing for a job, and it was probably my first job I had that I could make some decent money, so to speak. And the doctor told me, she said, you have a lot of protein in your urine. So I'm always thinking, well, protein is good for you, man. Don't you lift weights and everything? So I didn't think none of it. I was just trying to get the job, man, and I had to take a physical and about 3 or 4 interviews. And I did get an opportunity. Thank God for that. But I was so naive and unknowledgeable about what is protein in your urine. If I had addressed and went to a doctor, then I may have avoided all these things I've had to go through. So we need to, first of all, go to the doctor more. Don't wait until something happens to you to go to the doctor. Go to the doctor to be preventive. And if you're eating them pork skin, chips and cookies and all that stuff every day, you can't eat that every day and think you're going to live a healthy life. You've got to cut back and you got to do some things. Harder said than done. But nevertheless, if I had addressed that, if I had some knowledge about some things, I think I could have avoided possibly maybe some medication way back then. A lot of times kidney disease is hereditary too. Diabetes causes kidney disease for you fans out there. So we have to watch what we eat, and we have to really focus on that and try to live a happy life. So the title of this podcast is Love, Life, and Live. Just because you have a chronic illness doesn't mean go crawl in a hole and fade away. It means toughen up and listen to the doctors and do what they say and try to make a change, because you really have no choice with this particular thing. So nevertheless, I to finish my story, that was the first time I realized I might have had some problems with my kidney in hindsight. So fast forward 10 years, I'm gaining weight, and I can't understand how I'm gaining weight, and I'm playing tennis every day, doing some workout, and I couldn't lose any weight. And I was in Quincy, Illinois, golfing with some clients, and I could feel the river in my body moving. So I called a friend of mine. He knew a doctor, and it took me 2 or 3 weeks to see this doctor. So I go to the doctor, and I'm talking to his physician's assistant. So I'm not feeling well. I'm kind of edgy. And I'm like, well, I had to wait 3 weeks to see this doctor. Who are you? Da-da-da-da-da-da. And the gentleman was very, very professional. He said, hey, man, what are you doing now? I said, nothing. He said, do me a favor. I need you to go take a test at the hospital. He said, I need you to go right now. I don't need you to go home. I don't need you to do anything. I need you to go right now. I said, okay, fine. I go in the hospital. I got EKGs all on me, everything on me, man. And I like, what is this? I'm not one to be in the hospital. And the strangest thing, I've always not liked needles. And I've probably been stuck, maybe 500,000 times with needles. So I go to the hospital, and they give me this water pill, and I lose about 30-some pounds in a couple days. and people don't even couldn't even recognize me. I don't think my mother and father, they probably looked shocked. But the thing, the doctor nephrologist comes in the room, and I had my my uncle, my aunt, and my mother and father. They're all sitting in the room. And then he tells me, well, you know, da-da-da-da, he throws me the news. So I just, looked at him and said, okay, what next? But the look on their face, you could write a movie on. It was like, remarkable. And I'm looking at them, I'm looking at the doctor, and I don't know anything about dialysis or what this all means or what everything does, but that was the start of my journey. So I thank God I'm here today, and I do have a purpose now, and my purpose is to educate people on simple questions they may have that they might not feel comfortable with asking doctors or nurses because it's of a personal nature. How do you get disability? When is disability active? What kind of medications do you have to take, and who's going to pay for it, and how is that going to affect my job? Can I go to my job, and how many times a week do we have to go to dialysis? So let me be first to say, for those who are maybe not on dialysis, you can't just go when you're feeling good or feeling bad. You have to go 3 times a week. And if you don't, you'll have some serious consequences from that. So there's just a lot of little questions that people have that might be kind of shy about it, because this is really a devastating thing in hindsight that you go through. So you really want to be educated on this, and even no question is stupid. Ask questions. This is your body, your life. And if you're going to get through this, you're going to have to be inquisitive and take charge on some things. Also, I hope through this podcast that I could feature someone that needs a kidney, and maybe someone out here could bless that person with a kidney. Kidney transplants are not like they were years and years ago. The person actually giving the kidney is out of the hospital in a day. It's robotic surgery. It's in the past, they had to cut you down the back and go through rib cages and everything else. Now it's just a simple boom, 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 as they're out and done. And we need to help people regarding that. Something that's very saddens me is to have a person sit in a dialysis seat for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years when someone could give them a kidney. And I know that's not like giving a popsicle or anything, but you only use one kidney. And for those people who love other ones, that is the gift of life is more than anything I can say.
Yeah, I just had a question. How long were you on dialysis? How long were you on dialysis before you got your first kidney?
Actually, I was on dialysis for 2 years, and my sister gave me her kidney. Her name is Tanya. And even though
take time. Yeah, it's important. Yeah, just take your time, Daryl. Because that's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
To give up, have someone, especially your sister or your close relative, to be willing to hear, that's my brother, this is what I'll do.
Right. So that always brings tears to me.
Okay.
But nevertheless, she's a wonderful person, and she stood up. And if it wasn't for her, probably wouldn't be here today.
Okay.
So I know she's probably laughing because I'm sitting here with tears in my eyes. But I want to give her recognition because it's people like that we need to help us, man.
There you go.
Yeah, she had the courage to come up and donate a kidney. And for that, I will never forget.
And that was how long? That
was back in 2003 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can't begin to tell you, man. She's courageous as hell.
Right.
Yeah. So even though we argue and do that, she knows I love her.
Right.
And that I appreciate it.
That's the gift of life.
Right. So that lasted for me for 5 years. And then they had, my bladder had flooded.
Okay.
So it killed the kidney.
Okay.
And then I waited another 7 years for the next one.
So you had to go back on dialysis.
Go back in dialysis. Now, you talk about something that is a nightmare from Elm Street when the doctor tells you, hey, we got something for you. And you say, well, what's that? He said, well, the dialysis share again. You're like, well, are you kidding me? This is unbelievable. You have a dialysis share for me again. So I've been through trials and tribulations of that.
Okay.
And God blessed me about 4 years ago. I have a special blood type for another kidney.
Did the doctor, when they diagnosed you, did they tell you what particular illness caused your kidney failure?
My illness was hypertension. So what is hypertension? Well, hypertension could be a lot of things, man. You got a lot of pressure on you. I had to think back I'd never been a sickly person. Mm-hmm. So I had to think about, you got the pressure of a job performing. You got the pressure of kids and relationships. Right. You got the pressure of always having to prove yourself in the job and this, that, and the other. And I guess all that builds up. And then you're quick-tempered, so you got to learn how to live a different lifestyle, basically.
I think that's what we were talking about when I was mentioning earlier. My particular illness was, I'll give you the alphabet first, FSGS. And the technical term is focal segmental glomerulosclerosis sclerosis. That's like somebody taking your kidney and just scraping it. So it's kind of like scars on it.
Oh, okay.
Scars on it. So, and no sickness before that, like I said. And I kind of like asked the doctor what really caused it. And this is something that can be common in African-American men. What causes it? Hypertension, high blood pressure, and stress. So I can keep pressing that for us black men, hypertension and stress. The more stress, the more probability that you're going to have some type of kidney issue.
Right. Yeah, so we have a lot of issues to deal with, man, as far as our lifestyles.
Right.
We have to change our lifestyles.
And diet.
Right. And
can't eat those Polar sausages and rib tips.
Or them pork skins. Right. You got
too much of them, I should say.
Too much of them, right. So therefore, so my kidney lasted 5 years, and I was on dialysis for 7 years, and I was able to get another kidney, and that's because I did everything the doctors asked me to do. Just let the people out there know, if you don't do what those doctors ask you to do, you're not going to get a kidney, because they check your pressure, they check your thing. There's too many people out here that need a kidney to give someone a kidney that won't do what they're asked to do. Right. And if you do drugs, you're not going to get a kidney. If you abuse anything, they know when they take the blood test every week, for those people out there who are on dialysis. You can't hide from it. So do the right thing and get people aware of how we can avoid this problem. And if you take a look across the country, and you just take a look around in your neighborhood, you're going to see a lot of dialysis centers popping up, quite a bit, and a lot of people on home dialysis. So let's make a change. Let's be positive. Let's be strong. Let's give some inspiration to people, and that's the purpose of this podcast. Anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, I think you did an excellent job for your first podcast.
Thank you. Daryl. Appreciate it.
And I think you spoke from the heart, and that's where we need people to be honest with themselves.
Right. So, like I said, in the future, we're going to have different health professionals come in here and not give you a lecture on things, but things that can help you. For instance, for those people on dialysis, I want to give a special shout out to the University of Illinois, Chicago. Man, the staff there, from the pharmacy department to the transplant clinic, to the nephrologist, to the dialysis techs there, to the nurses there, they're fantastic. And I'm a critical person by nature, I guess you could say. But they really are fantastic. And we'll have hopefully some of those people come and talk about the drugs you need to take and some of the things you can do There's different ports that you have when you talk to a vascular surgeon as far as whether it's a fistula, which they tie veins together, or it's a graft. But you want to know those things, and you want to be aware, So if you're never an aware person and never knew anything, now it's time to do it. Now it's time to be aware. So I want to thank everyone that's ever prayed for me also. I think prayer is, if you never prayed before, you'll be praying when you're on dialysis. That's for sure. You'll be definitely praying when you're on dialysis.
Amen.
So there's a number on my flyer. Call that number if you have anything that you like us to discuss or like me to discuss. Harold will be here periodically to talk about different things and other experiences of when he was in a chair, and as far as techs sticking you and those knots that would be on your arm. Those are aneurysms, actually, that would be on your arm from people not sticking you the right way. You have to know about when the weather changes. Sometimes you're not feeling as good as it is. But I want to take away this myth. Everyone thinks that when you're on dialysis, you're always kind of slow and sluggish. That's not the case. No. A lot of people on dialysis are active. The key to this is to be active and keep your mind busy. Do something. Your life's going to change. You're not going to be going to work from 9 to 5, but you could do something in another period that something you enjoy doing. So especially now with COVID-19, you notice how people's lifestyles have changed. People are not so much working 9 to 5 jobs. They're working from home because there's other things to do in life than go to work 9 to 5, work 40 years and then slither away. You don't want to do that. So I want to also thank my production manager. He's fabulous. I will have him post his credentials on our first show. So if you ever need anyone who knows production and knows podcasting and Yahoo, he's definitely a gentleman to mention. And I want to thank, like I said, everyone out there who's listening right now, all my Facebook friends and all my followers. Thank you so much for taking this time.
Charisse.
Yeah. And I also want to thank Charisse Powell. She's definitely behind this. She's been an excellent production team leader. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank my daughter, Sierra. She's helping with it. And my son, Tyler, and my daughter, Jasmine, who I'm sure, hopefully, she's listening to this as well. Thank them and thank my family, mm-hmm. and thank the doctors. And hopefully, I can get through to some people and give them some information and some knowledge that they might not have known before, that they want to know. It could be something simple. But like Mr. Wilson said, keep that stress off you.
That's a winner.
However you do it, that's your business, but keep the stress off you.
Amen.
And that's it for now. So thanks for listening. I look forward to speaking every couple of weeks. We'll be doing this podcast, and hopefully we'll have some good questions and some answers and some people that can give you some valuable information regarding this. And together we can make a difference with educating people about this situation, this illness that we're in. Thanks again. Yeah. Like I mentioned before, chime in. I've got on my website, you can chime in if you have any questions or any topics you'd like to discuss, or even if you'd like to, we can Zoom you in, even if you'd like to be on the podcast, on the show, you'd be more than welcome. We look for different people with different situations to tell their story. This story was just me and Mr. Wilson. But everyone has different stories, and hopefully we can educate people and get some people some kidney transplants. So okay. My first person, and this is the last statement I will say, that I'm going to promote to get a kidney, a living organ donor if possible. His name is Greg Smith. This gentleman is out of Baltimore, Maryland, and he is B positive. That's a special type of blood. So if there's anyone out there that knows they're B positive and they want to save a life and change a life, think about it, let me know, call in, and I can get the information to the proper people to see if that would be a good fit. Anything else from my first guest on the
No, I think you did a great job, Daryl.
Thanks a lot, man.
Really spoken from the heart, and it's a real need out here, and we just want everyone to be aware.
All right. Thanks again.